my fellow Slivers across the multiverse. Welcome back to your one and only trustworthy Hive. So, despite the easier than ever in the history of mankind access to information we have nowadays, we're also somehow living at a moment in time where we just see something on the internet, a post or a video or a simple comment, and we immediately think it must be true. I mean, there's even a meme about this phenomenon, right? The whole "it's on the internet, so it must be true" joke. There's also this weird thing where a lot of people feel that if they are not experts at everything, that's somehow shameful in some way, so they start pretending to really know what they're talking about based on whatever it is that they've seen on the internet. True or not? This applies to almost everything or every topic out there really, and Magic the Gathering is not the exception. By extension, Commander is not the exception, and by further extension, cEDH is not the exception. I see it almost every day on Facebook groups, on Twitter, on YouTube videos. The misconceptions about cEDH are very real, they are pretty much always the same, and they're also very persistent, despite the existence of awesome channels full of information like Playing with Power, Play to Win, Casually Competitive, cEDH TV, etc. etc. That's why I decided to contribute a little bit to the cause and try to debunk the 5 most common misconceptions about cEDH that I usually see among Commander players. So, let's get to it. The most common misconception I think I've seen so far is that cEDH is not fun. Because Commander as a format is supposed to be casual, I guess the competitive tag seems counterintuitive. It sounds like it's going against the spirit of Commander. It sounds like it's another format entirely. But this is really not the case. And fun is subjective anyways. So anytime someone says that something is not fun, they're most of the time talking about personal preference and not about absolute or objective truths. Think about the color pie. Many players say the color blue is not any fun. A lot of us think blue is probably the most fun color. Think about formats or decks. I personally think that Death's Shadow is the most fun deck in Modern. Some people hate it and they have zero fun playing it or playing against it. Again, fun is subjective. cEDH can be tons of fun, and cEDH is still Commander. It's Commander, but everyone at the table is playing some of the most powerful, most mana efficient stuff ever printed. I've had some of the most fun and long games of Commander by playing cEDH. That's another misconception right there. Every cEDH game ends in less than 3 or 4 turns, and that's why it's not fun. Once again, this is not the case at all. Are most of the decks built to potentially, keyword potentially, win that fast? Sure. Do they always do that? No. Especially since cEDH is incredibly interactive. I think a surefire way of losing at a cEDH table is just trying to go for the win on turn 2. Everyone is packing so much interaction that it would take a miracle for you to just be able to start going off with no one doing anything about it. I've actually seen this happen far more often in regular EDH tables than on cEDH tables. Players that are more casual or newer hate running interaction. They don't like counter spells, they don't like targeted removal. I kid you not, I once saw a comment from a guy saying that being forced to run interaction kills his fun and the spirit of Commander. Look, I know I've been there. The spells most commonly associated with fun are the teamy 5 to 10 mana big splashy spells. So I've seen a lot of non-cEDH tables where it's just a race to see who plays their combo or winning card first. and whoever does it automatically wins because of the lack of interaction or answers. I would say that's the opposite of fun. But again, that would be personal preference. However, I promise that if you like powerful cards, tons of interaction, lots of back and forth, crazy battles on the stack, and ultra efficient mana curves, then cEDH can and will be an incredibly fun experience. The second misconception I've seen very often is that cEDH is for tryhards that only want to pop stomp newbies. Look, there will always be toxic people in the world. So there will always be toxic people in any community of anything you can think of. There's toxic people in the fitness community, in the music community, in the comic book fans community, etc, etc. Magic the Gathering was never going to be the exception. There's tryhards that love to pop stomp newbies in every MTG format. I've seen those types of people while playing Standard, Modern, Pauper, Legacy, even regular Commander. In one of the local game stores where I used to play, there was this group of 3 or 4 players who had very powerful decks, not cEDH powerful but powerful, and they would crush almost everyone else all the time. Another friend and I enjoy very competitive forms of Magic, and we also like cEDH, so we talked to these guys about organizing a cEDH tournament. After all, it seemed these guys I mentioned were kinda pushing it in that direction anyways. Not one of them wanted to be part of the tournament. They explicitly said Commander was casual and they had no interest in playing cEDH or tournaments, and they hated the idea of letting others use proxies if necessary. I guess their idea of fun was casually pop-stomping newbies. So far, the cEDH players I've come across are completely different. They have no interest in just sitting there and destroying newer players. They love tournaments, and whether they win or lose, they participate because they just wanna play and have fun. They have zero problem with proxies, they don't mind playing more casual decks or with extra house rules, etc, etc. So yeah, is it possible that you're gonna run into some rather unpleasant folks while playing Commander or cEDH or MTG in general? Of course. Is the cEDH community as a whole just a bunch of tryhards who want to feel superior at the expense of new or casual players? Not in the slightest. Okay, so the third most common thing I see is players claiming that any powerful commander, or at least any commander they perceive as powerful, whatever their idea of that might be, is cEDH level or cEDH playable. Again, I think this comes from the stuff I mentioned at the beginning of the video. A lot of folks believe anything on the internet, or a lot of folks feel this weird need to pretend that they are total experts even when it's clearly not the case. It's kinda like when you start playing guitar and you swear Kirk Hammett is the fastest, most virtuoso player on earth. And don't take this the wrong way, I absolutely love Metallica and Kirk. This was just an example. You see someone claim their Galta or Zorak Dragonclaw deck is cEDH, and hey, it's on the internet, and this person seems pretty confident about what they're saying. They even own cards like Mana Crypt and Chrome Mox, which they showed with the rest of their deck list. Yeah, they must know what they're talking about. So you believe that Galta and Zorak Dragonclaw are cEDH. Or maybe you sit at a commander table and someone's Atraxa Super Friends deck gets out of hand on turn 8. And you perceive that as very, very powerful. Far more powerful than anything you've seen so far. And then you jump to the conclusion that, well, Atraxa must be cEDH, right? Maybe you see some player who runs Force of Will, Force of Negation, Pact of Negation, and Fierce Guardianship in his Talrand deck. that Talron deck is for sure cEDH. Well, no. This is a misconception. Not every powerful commander, whatever you think the word powerful entails, is necessarily cEDH. cEDH, unlike regular commander, has somewhat of a metagame, as well as much more defined staples and playable commanders. If you're curious about what those are, I recommend you check the cEDH decklist database. I will leave the link on the description below. Hey, maybe a future set will print a card that makes your favorite commander cEDH playable if it's not already. I still have hopes for my Nikki B Ravager and yeah, Zorak Dragonclaw too, but meanwhile I'll stick to my Kess, Keenan and Saxara decks. Those can be very powerful cEDH decks. The fourth misconception is somewhat similar, that any powerful card or any card perceived as powerful, whatever you think the word powerful entails, is cEDH level or cEDH playable. Again, that's not really the case. Think of a card like Nissa who shakes the world. That's a pretty powerful card, right? It dominated Standard since it came out with the release of War of the Spark. Yet, you don't see a lot of Nissa in formats like Modern or Legacy. The context and thus the style of play will most of the time vary from format to format. And while cEDH is the same format as Commander, the style of play is a bit different. Mental Misstep is an absolute staple for cEDH decks. But if you run Mental Misstep in your slightly altered precon against other slightly altered precons, yeah, I don't think that's gonna be amazing or an improvement at all. I mean, what's the best thing you're gonna counter? A Sol Ring maybe? In cEDH, Mental Misstep can be used against Demonic Consultation, Carpet of Flowers, Mystic Remora, Vampiric Tutor, Mystical Tutor, Enlightened Tutor, Mana Bolt, and many other staples used in most decks. Context is very important. Not every powerful card is gonna be, well, powerful within the context of Commander and or cEDH. And hey, some cards are always amazing in both, like Mana Crypt, Sol Ring, Rhystic Study, Smothering Tithe, Demonic Tutor, Dockside Extortionist, Sylvan Library, but just like not every card is well suited for something like Modern, it's important to remember that not every powerful card in Commander is well suited for cEDH. And since we're already talking about cards and staples, let's get to the final misconception. Every single card played in cEDH is worth dozens or even hundreds of dollars. That's just not true for Commander, and it's also not true for cEDH. In fact, I just recently made a video where I go through 25 cEDH staples, 5 in each color, that are $5 or less. And there's many more that I didn't mention on that video. Like I said earlier, true cEDH players will be interested in playing against you, not against your wallet. Therefore, between some of the staples being dirt cheap and the proxy-friendly mindset of most players, you shouldn't have a problem experiencing true cEDH gameplay if you ever choose to finally do it. And that's it, my fellow Slivers. Those are the 5 most common misconceptions I've seen about cEDH. I hope this video was helpful. I hope it helps to finally dissipate some of these misconceptions, but above everything, I hope it encourages you to try cEDH, or at least it increases your curiosity about it, even if it's just by a little bit. Please leave a comment below telling me what other topics would you like me to cover on this channel, subscribe if you haven't already, and share these videos with other Slivers across the multiverse. Those last 2 things are the best ways in which you can support your Hive. Take care, my fellow Slivers, we'll gather again on the next video.